Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mrs. Bale's Book List, episode number 21. Today I'm going to be reviewing White Bird by R.J. Palacio. Here we go. R.J. Palacio is a genius. She took one well-received, to say the least, novel and created a network of other stories to give readers more of the characters they already love in a unique way. In the case of White Bird, she used a character from one book, Wonder, and used him to write a story in a completely different genre and a completely different format than anything she's done before, a graphic novel. Doesn't it seem like she's just having a blast being an author, exploring all her capabilities? Needless to say, I love her work. This graphic novel is actually historical fiction. In White Bird, R.J. Palacio makes a main character of Julian, the bully from Wonder, and gives the reader a glimpse at where he is after his departure from the Wonder story. He's feeling regretful about his past and is learning that there is great importance to how he chooses to move forward. I haven't done a review of Wonder yet, but it is on Mrs. Bale's book list. It is one of my all-time favorite reads for like 5th and 6th graders. It's a really good class read aloud because there's so much room for discussion, and it's really well received by kids of that age as well. When he starts video chatting with his grandmother as part of a school interview project, he doesn't know quite what he's in for. His grandmother shares with Julian the story of her childhood, growing up in France during the Nazi occupation of World War II. She doesn't want to tell it at first. Of course, it's painful for her to talk about, and she's always tried to avoid it. But she realizes if she never tells her story, the next generation can't possibly know it. And as we know, this lends history to repeating itself in one form or another. So she tells her story to Julian. Julian's grandmother, Sarah, was Jewish, and though her parents were citizens of France, they weren't born there, so eventually the Nazis came for them. Sarah shares what it was like to live in a world that gradually lost its freedom. She shared how the Jewish people were blamed for all that was wrong with the economy, according to Hitler, and therefore it was justifiable in the eyes of the Nazis to shut down their businesses and ostracize the entire group of people, then slowly to get rid of them altogether. When Sarah's family finally appears on a list of people being arrested and deported, Sarah's not with her parents. She's at school. This is the first time she witnesses how far Hitler's minions are willing to go to accomplish their tasks, and she's terrified. She hides, sure she'll be discovered soon, except that a young classmate comes to find her and show her a way out. Julian, a boy crippled by polio, and the namesake of Sarah's future son and grandson. Julian hides Sarah in his family's barn, where she must live for years in hiding. Since they suspect the neighbors are Nazi spies, Sarah is not allowed to leave the barn at all. Her only human interaction during those years is with Julian and his parents, who go to great lengths to make absolutely certain they are not seen. When Sarah is finally discovered and her world seems to unravel for a second time, she finally understands the level of courage of those around her. R.J. Palacio, the author, takes the message of kindness from Wonder a step further by incorporating it into this historically accurate world where showing kindness took even more courage because it could literally cost the kind person his or her life, or that of the entire family. As a grandmother, Sarah reflects on this painful time in history and hopes it impacts her grandson in a meaningful way. She tells him to make sure this kind of hate is never allowed to happen again. She tells him that he has the power to make change. In a single illustration on the very last page, which depicts modern-day Julian participating in a protest, R.J. Palacio draws some unspoken parallels to the modern issues facing our country today, such as the separation of undocumented immigrant families. On that page, there are several signs being held up by protesters, which generally encourage messages of kindness. I think it's a powerful way to challenge thought processes that exist in our highly polarized and politicized country. At the end of the book, I found myself reflecting quite a bit about my own assumptions and biases and the complexities that lead to people hating and mistreating other groups of people. And as Christians, we really have to sit and reflect on these things and be honest with ourselves about what would make God happy in our thought processes and what really doesn't. I can't help but wonder how the mass murder of millions of unborn children doesn't fall into the spotlighted categories of evils committed by humans against innocent and powerless groups. But I do love this story and this book. I love the way it used history to make me think about what Jesus would want us to do in all of these scenarios that are so politically charged. In a modern-day world which is trying so hard to tell me what to believe, it reminds me as a Christian to show love to everyone, as Jesus did. Love for the body and the soul. He's the light when the lines of right and wrong and where to stand start to get fuzzy. And that would be a very worthy conversation to have with a student or child reading this book. Here are the appropriateness factors. Romance and sexual content. A kiss is shared as two characters fall in love, but nothing more. Language, none except for general bullying, Nazi to Jew or school child to another. Violence. There is killing of innocents by gunfire. Some school bullies beat up Julian. The Nazis, or some French police working for the Nazis, make some children walk through the snowy forest where some of them die. A wolf kills a Nazi. This being a graphic novel, there are some visual depictions of bloodshed. Drugs and alcohol? None. One more neat thing about this book is that the author gives additional historical context in the end pages. Some of them further explain some real-life scenarios that gave inspiration to scenes in the fictional story. These pages add educational value to the reader. Happy reading! Thank you so much for listening today. As always, you can find show notes and the web version of Mrs. Bale's book list at KristenEmilyBale.com. That's Kristen with an E and Bale with a B-E-H-L. May God bless your day.